It's a Lowrance HDS9 Touch. Customer said power button doesn't work. In fact, I guess the unit was turning on and off by itself, so the customer had to wire, they said, a switch to make it work. I'm assuming the power coming into the unit, 12 volts coming in, they had that switched, I guess. I was just testing a little bit. It did turn on. Backlight was all the way down, turned the backlight up. It seemed okay. Started taking the bezel off to see what's up with the power button. And then randomly it was power cycling by itself, and the power button was unresponsive. Now I don't know if it's going to work now. No, power button is not working. So that's kind of strange. Let's put the bezel back on. Yeah, nothing from the power button. The other buttons seem to work. Okay. And it's reading depth, which is great. So sonar's working. Power button not working. So I think what we're gonna do, I think what we're gonna do is take the bezel back off, delaminate the power button, little power button switch assembly there, and see what's going on there. Maybe there's some corrosion there, maybe some issues we can resolve just externally. If that does resolve the problem, we're still going to tear this thing apart. We're still going to take the board out, take a good look at it, visually inspect it. We're going to do preventive maintenance on the whole board, just our standard process we do. If the power button doesn't resolve the issue, obviously we're going to get into the unit anyway and troubleshoot it, see what's going on. So let's get to it. Okay, there was some corrosion under that power button, so it seems like that did resolve the power button issue. We just used a rotary tool with these rubber abrasive bits. It's like an eraser on steroids. These things work awesome for taking like top coat off a board, or like solder mask, cleaning up traces, things like that. Work really good for this. As you can tell, there was a tiny portion of that power button contact that actually got ground away. This was a little too heavy on this, but totally fine. That part wasn't even making contact with the switch, the top part of the switch anyway, so it's good, but just shows you got to have a very gentle touch in any case. So power button seems okay. I'm going to keep testing it because initially it was okay. I mean, when I first fired this thing up off camera, the very first time it seemed okay, and then it started to act strange again. So just going to keep testing it, making sure we're good. I think we're good now. I mean, there was definitely corrosion on the switch contacts, so I think we're doing good now. I'm going to go ahead and reseal this because I delaminated it. It seemed to seal back on its own once the isopropyl alcohol dried, but I'm going to peel this back up, and I'm actually going to add my own adhesive around it just to be 100% sure that it's going to seal, and also to keep a good watertight seal because I kind of just broke that seal. So I want to make it watertight again. I mean, they're not very watertight to begin with, unfortunately, but if I can add to the water resistance of the unit, I'm going to do it. So I'm going to do that real quick, and we'll crack this thing open. So it looks like somebody was removing the bezel on this. Maybe to take a look at the power switch, I have no idea. Or maybe it was just like that. But the part of the case here where the bezel clips in was broken, and the same down here. So we have some high temp black hot glue. Stuff works awesome for doing basic like case repairs and stuff like that. It is hot glue, so I mean it's not epoxy, but you know, if you don't need an extremely strong, you know, if you're not at a critical part of the case where you need something like really stiff or anything like that, if you're just doing a little bit of filling or some basic work, this stuff works awesome. Works really good. We have black, we have white, kind of match cases. We have all different colors. Anyway, stuff works real good, and that's what we did here. Again, just because it holds the bezel on, it's not super critical that we use like an epoxy or something like that. We could remold the case in epoxy. It would just take more time, and we just wanted to kind of make it look a little bit better for the customer. So yeah, we're gonna crack this thing open now, and by the way, the customer did send in their own power cable. So anytime anybody sends in power cables or any cables, we test with the cables because we want to make sure there's not a problem with the customer's cables. So we're going to go ahead and remove all the T8 screws, loosen up all the plastic nuts, take them off, and we're going to get this back off. Okay, we got the back off here. Everything looks okay. That touch cable coming into the board doesn't look great. Looks like it was bent a little bit. I don't know if this thing was apart or not, but it doesn't look that great. We'll fix that. Could have been from the factory. Somebody was assembling. We're going to just take the board out completely, clean all the connections. We're going to resolder the main components here, filter cap, sockets, sonar section of the board, MOSFET that controls powering on and off. We're going to take a good look at the underside of the board, make sure there's no issues there. And once that's all done, we'll get it back together, test it again. Okay, so we did all the preventive maintenance we wanted to do. And we do this to every unit coming in. We resolve the issue the customer's having, and along the way we do preventive maintenance, just things we've seen in the past that could fail. We go ahead and proactively resolder connections, clean sockets, things like that. We obviously don't want units to come back, so we do whatever we can to prevent that. Okay, we got our power cable. It's actually the customer's power cable we're using, and also the sonar cable, which is going to our sonar test rig up there. We're going to try the power button in 3, 2. There we go. Power button's still working okay. We're just going to let this thing fully boot, and we're going to make sure sonar is working okay. It was before, so it still should be working okay. And then we're going to test that power button a whole bunch of times. Then we're just going to let it sit on the bench for, I don't know, maybe a half hour or something, because initially when we first unboxed this thing, it worked okay, and then maybe 5 minutes in, maybe 5 minutes of sitting on the bench, it started power cycling. So we want to make sure that's no issue, and that power button fix we did do took care of that problem. There we go. So we got a 10-foot depth reading. That's perfect. Temp 65. That makes sense for that water up there in that drain pipe. Look at that. Power button still feels real good. Super responsive. I also wanted to mention, the customer also mentioned that they thought it was in like night mode. Now that makes a lot of sense. It wasn't in night mode, but because of the power button issues, it was almost as if somebody was sitting there holding down the power button or pressing it, and obviously when you press the power button when it's on, dims the backlight, right? So maybe the customer thought that it was in some sort of night mode, but in actuality, it was just the power button, defective power button. So we're gonna let this sit. I think I need to make some more coffee, and we'll get. All right, it's been about a half hour, and we are still good to go. So we're gonna power this thing down, completely reassemble it, and then give it another test. Just wanted to mention real quick, when we were testing, we noticed we were getting no signal whatsoever out of the GPS. What we did is we actually removed the GPS module, and we tore it apart, and we reflowed the little ARM microprocessor in there, and that seemed to resolve the issue. Now we are in a steel roofed building, so if I bring this over the window, we do have better signal, but before we weren't getting any satellite reception whatsoever. So we're going to bring it over to a place where there's window area where we can get full strength. But just wanted to mention that this did have GPS issue while we were testing. So we did repair that. Let me see if I have a parts unit here. This isn't the same exact GPS module, but just to give you an idea, we removed, can you see it? There we go. We removed this shielding right here. Under the shielding, there's a little ARM BGA chip. We reflowed that. We resoldered the connector, resoldered some other semiconductors under here, some passive components as well. Resoldered the antenna, cleaned everything, and we're good to go now. We're getting, again, we're in a building with a steel roof, and we're getting some GPS reception in here. I think in the future, what I'll probably do is get or build a GPS repeater. So we could have an antenna outside the shop receiving satellite reception from the GPS satellites, and then we'd retransmit that internally in the shop, so we can. It'll allow us to give the GPS units a little bit better test. But in any case, this is now working perfectly. So if you have any Lowrance, Hummingbird, Garmin, or any electronic devices, go to www.rudolphrepairs.com. If you want to give us a call, it's 1-800-517-9101. You could shoot us an email if you'd like. That's rudolphrepairs@gmail.com. Until next time, guys.